Okay, we're live. I'm gonna have to end up sticking to this feed instead. I apologize, guys. I don't know what's going on with our lives, but we're just gonna have to stay here. Let me send you guys a link for anyone who's still over on the other side. All right, so let me start answering some of these questions that I'm getting here on the other stream. Unfortunately for me, I was not able to start on time, even though I did prepare pretty well. Technical issues always arise, but that's neither here nor there. Just keep in mind, guys, I am working from home. I am not in my studio, so you're going to hear birds chirping, little girl screaming. There's going to be probably a couple interruptions here and there, but I'm going to get to everyone's questions today. So let me just go ahead and start with one of the first ones we have here. All right, great. All right, so our first question is from Menser Me Happy. Got the loan waiting to be funded. I recently had emergency repairs at the studio due to many water leaks. Paid with the credit card. The damaged floors. Can I pay for both the plumbing and to replace the damaged floor? Well, this is the situation. That wasn't the disaster that is covered under the EIDL loan. The disaster that was covered is the COVID disaster, obviously, that we're going through. But if this happened after January 31st, and obviously you need to do this because it's part of the business you're in, you have to get this place back in working order, and you paid for it with your credit cards, those expenses that you paid for after January 31st, you will be able to pay your credit cards with that. Remember, credit cards are short-term debt. They're not long-term debt. So any short-term debt, you can actually pay that down as quickly as possible. Things like mortgages and auto notes or any long-term notes, those you cannot prepay down. You can only pay your monthly payments on those, but you can't pay them all off in one shot. All right. So our next question, let me see if I can just show you guys what I'm looking at here. All right, we're going to stick with this. Okay, so our next question comes here from J Equity Group. I accepted my loan offer this morning, waiting for further updates now. Okay, so J Equity, he's waiting. So with this question, I guess, would be more in line of how long is it going to take. So if he accepted his loan offer, it's going to be a few weeks before you get either your next document, well, the next email, which is your documents to sign, and then you're probably going to have a week or two before you get your payment out. Next is Victoria Friend. Received offer, not sure I want to sign after digging into the requirements. So Victoria, I would be very careful too, but it's nothing to be scared of. If you need the money and you know your business is going to recover, just make sure that you're using the money for the right things that you need to do. You're not going to want to use it on anything that is, for instance, anything that's going to expand your business or anything that's growth related, or if you're taking your business in a new direction, you can't use it on those things. It's not meant for expansion. It's only meant for you to bring your business back to the point where it was before, pay for expenses that have occurred that you couldn't pay for because of the pandemic. So those are the things you're going to want to make sure that you're taking care of. Next, Antonio says, can I change the contract I already signed by lowering the loan under $25,000? So if I understand this correctly, it says I can change the contract. I already signed by lowering the loan under 25 grand. Okay, so if you lowered, you only took 25,000 and your note says 25,000 or less, then you don't have any collateral. You don't have to put up any collateral, or there's no collateral requirements for that type of loan. So I hope I answered your question correctly there. Let's see, Menser also said 25,000 does not qualify for collateral or hazard insurance, only over 25,000. That is correct. It does not qualify for collateral, although hazard insurance doesn't matter the size of your loan. Hazard insurance is required whenever you have any assets that have a need for hazard insurance. But since you're not putting up any of those any of those assets as collateral, it really doesn't matter to them if you have hazard insurance on them or not, because you're not using it as collateral, because it's not being backed up by any of your personal assets or any business assets. So that is correct. Sean, I'm sorry. I know you messaged us, and I apologize. We just switched over to live stream. It says loans, J Equity Group also said loans from any other banks want collateral as well, depending on the amount. That is correct. Usually a bank will not give you any collateral, any loans unless you have collateral in there. So for instance, when you go and you take a loan out on your home, most people don't know this, but they're putting up their loan as the collateral, and in most states it's only the home that's being used as the collateral. So that is correct, 100% correct. Let me see why we have a couple more questions here. So Sean Davis said, received an email on 5/3 stating my application was being processed. How much longer do I have to wait? So that is one of the questions that we get a lot. So asking us how long is it taking between steps. So Sean, thank you for this question. Well, it's not going to be one timeline for everyone. Everyone's going to have a different timeline. For instance, I explained in my previous video that my partner and I, we both applied in the same day. I got approved much quicker than they did. They got approved just recently. And we are actually in the process right now of figuring out what we're going to do with the money, number one, or whether the money is going to end up going back. So that's what we're figuring out at the moment. So hopefully that answers your question, Sean. Thank you for tuning in. The Jocelyn says, I got approved for $73,000. Can I pay off some of my business credit cards? Yes, you can pay down or pay off your business credit cards, but it can only be paid down for expenses after January 31st, 2020. So keep that in mind. You may be able to pay put it this way. The way that it reads, it's very not clear. It's very vague. So what it says here is that some bills that could not have been paid had the disaster not occurred. Let me see if I can get it up here on our screen so you can see this for yourselves. So on our screen it shows, from their own publication, it says, some bills that could have been paid had the disaster not occurred. So if your intention was to pay off this credit card, but you couldn't because of the disaster, then yes, you can pay off your credit cards with that. And remember, guys, you're going to get such a mixed bag of answers. You're going to call the SBA and they're going to tell you one thing today. You're going to call back and you're going to get a different answer later. You're going to call on the same day and speak to a level 1, a level 2, and a loan officer and possibly get 3 different answers. So this is not something that anyone was ever prepared for. So all we can do right now is make sure that we don't do anything with the intent to defraud the SBA. If we're doing everything that we would have normally done, if we can call the SBA for guidance, if we can get a green light from our accountant, from our attorney, for whoever's helping us with this stuff, if we can get as much documentation, backup, recorded phone calls, anything you can do to just strengthen your case, then you're going to be in a much better spot if you ever get audited or questioned on why you spent money on whatever you spent money on. Remember, there are so many people who applied for this EIDL loan. It's unprecedented. I don't think the SBA ever expected this much volume of people in their system ever. So do I think we're going to get audited? No, I don't. I think it's humanly impossible to audit all the loans that the SBA has been giving out. But it's not to say they're not going to audit 1 out of every 100 people. And you don't want to be one of those one persons who gets audited, because then you're not going to be prepared for that audit. So make sure that whatever you do spend it on, make sure that that money is, those expenses are documented, invoiced. Don't pay anyone with cash. Don't pay yourself either if you weren't paying yourself before. That's one of the requirements that I spoke to the gentleman yesterday. He told me from the SBA that if you weren't on a payroll before, you can't go on a payroll now. But if one of your employees decides to not come back to work with you, you can take their position and pay yourself what that employee was getting paid. So hopefully that answers some of your questions out there. All right, so I'm also getting here another question from the Jocelyn's, and it says, I'm starting to think that this money brings more headache than anything. I agree with you. I totally agree with you. I'm really close to just giving it back myself. It's really, it's become a little bit of a frustration for me. The more I learn about it, the more confused I get. Can I elaborate on the distributions of assets? Yes, so the distributions of assets, let me pull that up for you guys, because the distribution of assets was one of the things that I spoke about the other day. Now, the distribution of assets basically states that if you're an officer, if you're an owner of the company, you cannot give yourself a loan, you cannot give yourself distributions, and you cannot give yourself any type of bonuses or anything of the sort with this EIDL money. Now, if you pay yourself distributions or anything else from the business, but not from those proceeds, then you're going to be okay. Why I tell everybody to get separate bank accounts is because money is fungible, which means that you don't know if it's your $1,000 in the account or if it's the EIDL loan money in the account. So what I'm saying is always keep that money in a separate account. And if you're going to pay yourself distributions, you have to do it from another account, the account that you were paying distributions from before. As long as you do that, you should be safe. I know that some people can argue that if you do that, they can still, it might be, it's very vague in the description in the loan agreement that says that the business itself cannot pay distributions to any officers or owners or anything like that. But remember, what it says in the loan agreement is that we're trying to get the business back to the way it was prior to the disaster. So if the business operated in a fashion in which it paid you distributions before, there's no reason why I couldn't do it now, especially if you haven't switched yourself over to a W-2. They're not going to argue that you cannot get paid from your own business. I think that's probably one of the silliest things that they could ever bring against us. But just make sure that you don't over exceed what you normally were giving yourself. Now remember, guys, I am not a CPA. I didn't study any of this stuff. All I've been doing is just studying and researching nonstop for the last few weeks, the last few months, especially the last few days, because the questions I'm getting are very, very specific to certain situations. So the more I research, the more I'm learning, and the more I'm starting to see that not even the SBA knows the real true answers to this stuff. So let's take another question. Can this video be rewatched? Missed my first question. Thank you so much. Yes, Mensur, this video is going to be available as soon as we're done. Let me see if I can just recap your question real quick, Mensur. Oh yeah, so your studio, right? I think you were the one with the studio. So yeah, you can rewatch this later, but I think you're going to be fine, Mensur. You can check that out as soon as we're done with this live feed. Okay, so I have another question from Panzetta. It doesn't say that you'll be okay. The assets they prohibit you from distributing are any and all of your assets. Panzetta, we may have to call the SBA and make a video just on that, because what I'm reading into the agreement is that you have to bring your business back to the way it was functioning and operating before the disaster. If you are not allowed to give yourself distributions, how will you live? How will you survive? The business is going to go under because you're not going to have any money to live off of. You can't even feed your family. So I don't think they mean it to that extreme. I just think what they don't want is they don't want a lump sum of $150,000 coming in and then a lump sum of $100,000 going out to you as a distribution. I think that's what they're trying to do, and they're trying to protect those funds from being misappropriated. And that includes future revenue. Yes, I understand that. So that's this is a really good topic. And if it didn't take the SBA hours to answer the phone sometimes, I'd call them and I answer that for you guys now live. But I'll do a follow-up video on that, because that is a really, really delicate one. Because if you're not able to pay yourself a distribution, but then again, you can't put yourself on a W-2, then how can you pay yourself? So we'll get an answer to that. Independent contractors approved for the EIDL loan, was working for a company, closed for 2 months. Start working, how will pay to myself? Independent contractor approved for EIDL loan, was working for company, closed for 2 months. Okay, so if you're an independent contractor and you want to pay yourself with the EIDL loan, the only way you can pay yourself would be if you were previously on the books. Then you can use that EIDL loan money to pay yourself. If not, then you're going to have to look into the PPP loan and set yourself with a payroll on that. And we'll get to one of those PPP questions in a moment, because if you do end up getting the PPP loan, you're going to want to make sure that you listen to what we're going to talk about that really closely. The Jocelyn's asked, I heard that you cannot use the money for expansion. That is 100% true. You cannot use it for expansion. But now I'm working online and need to buy stuff to adjust to this new business model. Okay, I totally get it. I understand you're working now differently. You may have been using your, I don't know, maybe the computers that you had at a different location, and those computers may not be this, the right setup for you to have at home. What I will tell you is this. You have to be able to bring back your business to the level of production and everything else that you had during that time. If you can't bring your business up to the level of production that you had before because you're lacking of a resource such as that computer, then I would argue that that's going to be okay for you. What they don't want you to do is they don't want you to spend that money on a dozen new computers when you don't need them, or just go to Best Buy and just go on a shopping spree. I believe that that's what they're trying to avoid happen. But if you can justify that your business truly needed this to survive, I think we're all going to be okay. I think what we're doing, a lot of us, is we're reading into the letter of the law just a little bit too much. And I think we're all very cautious and being extra paranoid because we don't want to be on a hook for 1.5 times. But what I will tell you is that all of our phones have recording devices. Call the SBA, ask them this question, see what kind of a response you get. If you don't like the response, ask to speak to a level 2. If you don't like level 2's response, ask to speak to a loan officer, and just record everyone's conversation just so you have backup in case you ever get audited. You want to make sure that all your T's are crossed and I's are dotted. You want to make sure that everything that you could have done to prevent anything from happening in your future is done. So thank you for that question. Can I use the EIDL money for that? Well, I think all right. So Jocelyn said, I'm a therapist, was going to client's home. Okay, so you're a therapist and you were going to your client's home previously, or you're going to your client's home now? I'm assuming that you're going to your client's home now, so that may require you to be mobile. Maybe you have to get now a new laptop or a tablet or something of the sort. And if that's the case, then I think you can make that argument that you need that to survive, for your business to survive. Okay, our next question comes from Bear Saltillo. I am self-employed. Can I pay myself based on 2009 Schedule C? Can I only use that monthly figure, or can I increase it? There are so many restrictions. It appears that this could be the only way to pay items. Also, I assume that this payment to myself would then become income and taxable. Yes, any payments, any W-2 that you pay yourself, any payments that are going to go out the door are definitely going to be taxed on both sides. So you're going to be taxed on it as an employee, and you're also going to be taxed on it as the business owner for payroll taxes. So you guys do need to understand that. So whatever's on your Schedule C, you should stick to that. I don't think you should put anything more than that, because if it does, then it starts to look like you're taking advantage of that situation. You can only bring your business back to the level it was at before. So hopefully that helps you. The second part of your question is, so the taxable section. With the taxable section, I want to explain something to everyone, that with the taxable implications that you have with the PPP, there's a loan forgiveness portion of that PPP loan. So let's just say that we got a $100,000 loan from the EIDL, and we got a $100,000 loan from the PPP a month later. And let's say we used $50,000 of the EIDL loan for payroll. Once we get that PPP loan, we actually have to pay back that EIDL loan money immediately to the SBA with the PPP money. Now that $50,000 that you used automatically, that's going to be tax-free. So what I mean by that is obviously it's going to be forgiven. So since it's forgiven, whenever a debt is forgiven, usually you get a 1099 for that loss, because someone on the other end is taking it as a loss, or you're taking it as gain. But what the IRS has stated is that you're not going to be on the hook for the tax on that loss to the bank or to the SBA or whoever is funding that money or forgiving that money. You're not going to be on a hook for the taxes on that. All right, so I hope you guys are following me. So you're not going to be on a hook for any 1099 you may get. Now, you may still get a 1099, but you won't be on the hook for it. But the only catch to that is that you also are not going to be able to use it as a deduction when you do your income taxes at the end of the year. So it means that that money will actually be taxed later anyway. So it's really not tax-free. So I hope you guys understand that. I know that was a little bit confusing, but I just want to make sure that you guys understand all these loans are just really complicated. All right, so Alpha, I run my contractor business from home. Can I use the EIDL loan to pay my mortgage, electric, etc.? I store all of my tools here, communicate with customers online from here. Thank you for replying. Okay, if you have always run your business from your home, then yes, you're going to be able to pay a portion of those expenses from the EIDL loan money. You can't expense it all because a portion of your home is also used for you living. So what you want to do is you want to figure out how much of the home you actually use for your business and appropriately use that amount of money for that. Now talk to your accountant about this because it gets very complicated. And if you've always run your business from your home, your accountant should have probably at one point told you to write yourself a lease so you can also offset those expenses as well. Because you can be the landlord as the homeowner and you can also lease that section of the house to your business. So if you haven't done that yet, talk to your accountant about doing that, and definitely it'd be a lot cleaner to just run the utility expenses through your lease. So if your lease would have been $500, but with the utilities included, it's going to bump it up to $750. Then just make sure that's included in your rent agreement. If it wasn't in place before, talk to your accountant now about seeing if there's a way where you can put it into place now and formalize it. All right, Bobby Collier says, I created the portal and accepted my offer on Monday. How long does it take to get the final approval? Can it still be denied? No, if you've created your portal, you're in good shape. I mentioned this in one of my previous videos that most people that I've spoken to, pretty much everyone I've spoken to who has gotten to the point where they created their portal and picked out how much money they want for their loan, it's just a matter of time before they actually send you the next email with the loan documents to sign, and then it's only a matter of time after that until you see the money in your bank account. So thank you for that question, Bobby, but you should be in good shape. I can use it for the expenses after the pandemic, let's say November 2020. Yeah, so what they're saying in the loan agreement is any expense that came after January 31st of 2020. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I didn't see any expiration date of the money being able to be used for any expenses after that. So I think we're okay. I don't think there is a limit to that. So I think any expenses in November, you'll be fine. Chuck Stacy says, I have called the SBA 3 times to see if I can get new computers that were damaged during the lightning storm a month ago. I have gotten 3 different answers. What do you think? Chuck, if you weren't on the call earlier, what I believe, Chuck, is this. If your intentions are in the right place and you're not purposely trying to defraud the SBA or your loan, you have proof that you've called and you have proof that you've tried to do the right thing. I have a really hard time believing that any auditor is going to give you a hard time. If you need these computers for your business to be back where your business was before, then it's not an enhancement. It's not an expansion. It's getting your business back to ground level where it was before. So I think you should be okay. Like I said, always have documentation and always check with your accountant. And if you haven't recorded these conversations from the SBA, it would be worth your time to call back and ask the questions again and get some recordings. All right, Chuck. Next, Menser, are there any penalties if the loan is paid off early? For example, got an EIDL loan on May 2020 and it's paid off, I guess you meant to say, April 21. Or maybe you meant April 2021. I think that's what you mean. No, there are no penalties if you pay down this loan early. There is no prepayment penalty. But what some people don't understand is the following. So there won't be any payments due for the first year. Okay, your payments for the first year, you don't have to worry about them. But it doesn't mean that there isn't interest accruing. So what that means is, let's just say that you decide not to take this loan and you never used a penny of it and you paid it off after 2 months. You send it all back. What happens is you might be on the hook for the interest during those 2 months, because the way the EIDL loan is structured, it states that once your payments start a year from now on a 12th month, it's going to pay off interest first, which means that if you ever had a student loan or you know anyone who's had a student loan, the way it works is that all of your payments are going to go to interest first. All that interest that was deferred during the first 12 months, it's going to go towards that first. Then it'll go to principal and interest. Oh wait, I apologize. Then it'll go to any penalties if you have penalties. And then finally it'll go to principal and interest. So there is no penalty for paying it off, but you might be on the hook for some money. What's going on, Alejandro? Thank you for tuning in, brother. You're always supporting us. So Tanisha Davila is asking, got the link on Sunday, chose the amount with 20 minutes and it was approved. 30 minutes last signed closing docs. Tuesday received direct deposit, waited 2 months completely in 45 minutes. Hey, Tanisha, I'm not sure if I'm understanding you correctly here, but it looks like you had a really expedited experience. It looks like you got the money super, super fast. They offered you $30K and you took $25,000. Good move, very smart move for taking the $25K. Keeps you right under that threshold of having any collateral requirements. So that was a really smart move. Okay, so Scott Grupas is asking, in the situation where I am an independent contractor and show that starting February 1st in 1099, my income decreased by $7K a month, I could use the EIDL loan to pay myself the $7K for the first month. Okay, so that is a very good question. So you're an independent contractor, not sure what kind of independent contractor you are. If you weren't a W-2 employee for your own company, you were just independent contractor, obviously you paid yourself whatever it was, you should use this money not to pay yourself, but to pay for the expenses that you would have used that money on. Okay, so obviously some of those expenses are going to be food, are going to be clothing, are going to be things that are normally not in this approved expenses for the SBA. I would limit to just that portion of distributions or W-2 pay, however you choose to pay yourself. I would limit it to just that. Everything else that you ran through yourself to pay for later, for instance, like maybe rent or maybe your insurance or whatever expenses for your company, run those through your through your business account first, and then anything that's left over that you need for your own personal use, that portion give yourself distributions for, or that portion you can give yourself a W-2 for. But that is a very technical question, a very specific question. Definitely ask the SBA their take on that, and definitely talk to your accountant before you make any moves on that. So Scott, thank you for that question, brother. Hopefully you take our guidance and just pay as much stuff that you were paying for your business first. Asia is asking, Asia Khan, this Sunday I got quoted and I verified, but waiting for documents, and today is Wednesday. Asia, you may have another week or two in the queue, so be patient. If you got the email, that's a good sign, and you most likely did everything correctly. All right, so next question comes from Social Time. So basically, I can use my 2019 tax deductions as a guide for uses for the EIDL loan. That's actually a very good point. So yes, if you look at what expenses you had previously, then those should be a guide on what you can actually use this stuff for without going overboard. Exactly. So let me show you this again, guys. So on my screen right now, I have how can I use loan funds? You can use them for fixed debts, such as your rent or mortgage payment on the building where you may have your business, not on your personal mortgage, so don't get that messed up, or not your personal rent, not your rent at your apartment. Okay, guys? Payroll. So if you have employees, you can pay them with this. Accounts payable being any accounts that you may have with vendors who may be giving you merchandise. This is where it actually gets very, very gray. Some bills that could have been paid had the disaster not occurred. If you guys intended to pay certain bills, but you couldn't because of disaster, this may actually be your safe haven. I also want to show everyone, if you guys haven't seen it yet, but this is where you can go if you have questions. You don't have to wait on the phone all day long. You can actually go to this email address. It's called answerdesk@sba.gov. You can send them emails, and this might actually even be better. Email them your questions, because if you email them your questions, you have it as proof. You don't have to worry about recording a conversation. You may just actually use this to your advantage, because then it becomes available for you, and you can have it at any time as proof. Okay. All right, now so let's take another question. Mike Dunn, thank you for that. Thank you for tuning in. Andres is asking, can you use the EIDL loan money to pay off past business credit cards? I have $10,000 in business credit cards to pay off. So that is a very good question, because I find myself in the same position. So what the SBA is telling us is that you can use it for any bills that could have been paid had the disaster not occurred. So if you were going to be able to pay those bills off, they're not long-term debts, they're short-term debts, you should be able to pay off those credit cards. You should be in good shape, Andres. So always check with your accountant, call the SBA, or email them to that email address I just gave everyone, and get that question answered by them. But I intend, if I keep the money, I intend on using it to pay off my business credit card. So yes, I am definitely going to use it for that. Okay, so next question comes from El Hadish. He's asking, can we buy merchandise for resale with this loan? Okay, so you can use it for accounts payable. So if you are on a, let's say a 30-day window in which you get merchandise and you have to pay it back, and you find yourself in a hard position where you can't pay this money back, that's considered an accounts payable, because they've given you the merchandise, now you got to pay that back. You should be able to do that, okay? What you can't do is order more than what you normally were ordering, or expand into a new line, because they're very clear that they don't want you expanding your business. They don't want you going into different lines. They don't want you going to a different industry with this money. They want your business to get back to the way it was before. So if you found yourself having to order merchandise and you couldn't pay for it, then you can use this money to pay for that merchandise. You can double the merchandise you order. You can use this money to go out there and order merchandise now to sell. It would have had to been merchandise that you already had ordered and you couldn't pay for it, okay? So hopefully that helps you. All right, Joel Hancock is asking, single member LLC with 2 employees. Okay, my pay is a combination of W-2 wages, $60K a year, and monthly draws, another $60K. So you're about $120K a year. Can I use the EIDL loan W-2 wages and then pay my monthly draws out of my other income? Okay, Joel, thank you for that question. According to the way I see it, and I believe this is going to be correct, but I'm going to do a follow-up video on just that question alone. You should be able to, as long as you don't use the EIDL loan money to pay yourself distributions, because it's very clear in their agreement that you can't use it for distributions, bonuses, loans, anything like that to any officers or any owners. But if you normally were doing that before, and it's not a new habit that you're taking on now, you're not doing anything differently than what was already consistent with your business, so you should be fine. Because if it's going to affect the quality of your life, let's just say you're going to lose your home or get kicked out of your apartment if you don't continue doing that, then I find it very hard to believe that the SBA is going to argue that you did something wrong there. But like I said, send an email with that question to this email that I just read off before, answerdesk@sba.gov, and keep that as your proof, and you should be good to go. And also, if you want to make yourself feel a little better, check with your accountant as well. Okay, brother? Thank you for that question. Sylvia B is asking, I am currently receiving PUA unemployment, was approved for the EIDL loan. Can I keep getting PUA and take the EIDL loan? That's a great question, Sylvia. So the answer I got from the SBA yesterday on this question is that yes, you can keep your EIDL loan and keep PUA simultaneously, as long as you're not using the EIDL loan money to pay yourself a wage. If you're not using it for that purpose and you're using it for everything else and business related, then the PUA is still in effect for you. So that is a great question. I have that recorded. So in case the SBA ever comes back and says something, to me or to anyone else. I've got the recording if you need it. All right, next question is from Ram Navarez. Can I use to buy my truck back as I had to sell it to stay afloat? So yes, even though, well, yes and no, because I'll tell you right now, you can't use it to buy fixed assets. You can't. You cannot use it to buy a house. You cannot use it to buy a car. But the SBA has been telling Uber drivers and Lyft drivers that they can use the money to buy a car because it's pertinent to their business. So Ram, what you're telling me is that you already had the truck. I had the same question with someone else the other day who actually owns a music studio, and I apologize. They teach guitar lessons and they teach instrument lessons, and they sold their instruments, they pawned their instruments, and now they want to go pay off that loan. That situation is a little different than yours because instruments are not considered fixed assets. You know, they're just personal assets. So these, the situation you find yourself in is a very gray one because yes, you can bring your business back to where it was before, and if that meant getting yourself a truck, I see it that you're fine, but it also conflicts with the restriction they have on buying fixed assets. All right. Now, if you do get that, remember that truck becomes part of your personal property in which it's collateral for the loan. Okay. Make sure you email the SBA, get your answer from them, and also check with your accountant, brother. Okay, so thank you for that. Andres, can you use the EIDL loan for advertising? I have a copywriter. I want to hire to write someone to new ads for me. Not sure if this falls into new website category. This would be for new ads. Yes, Andres. So you cannot use it for marketing, and you can't hire someone to start copywriting for you because I would be considered as an expansion. If let me give you an example, right? So if you do marketing on Facebook and you ran up a $1,000 account or a $1,000 invoice with Facebook and you haven't been able to pay it because of the pandemic, then you can use that money to pay off that marketing budget. You understand? Because that was already incurred and it would have been normally been able to pay if you would have had the money. If you every month your business thrives on always having a $500 or $1,000 marketing budget, then you should probably be able to use it for that because that is a fixed expense. It's a fixed expense that your business always has, and it's a bill that you would have normally been able to pay every month if you would have not had the pandemic. But like I said, ask that question to the SBA. You can send them an email and get a response, I'm sure probably within a few days' time. Then you're backed up with that, and you can also ask your accountant. So Nicole Kramer is saying, don't know if you already asked this question about me being approved for the home loan if I accept unemployment due to the virus. Okay, Nicole. So what Nicole's question is that would I, if she, so you don't, what I'm understanding here is you don't own a home yet, if I'm not mistaken, right, Nicole? So it says about me being approved for a home loan. So, okay, so you don't have the home yet. If you take unemployment right now, you're probably gonna, it may show up that you're on unemployment, and when you go to get your loan for it, through your bank, they're gonna ask you if you're getting any type of compensation. And right now, since you're a business owner, you're probably going based off of your profit and loss and your tax returns for 2019 and 2018. Now, this question is better suited for a loan officer. So I will try to get a loan officer on the line live to see if we can get you that answer. So I'm going to move on to the next question while I try to make that call. All right. So give me a second. Got this go-to loan officer who always answers me. Let's see if we can get him. And I'll move on to the next question while I wait for this. Okay, next question. Scott Grupas, independent contractor with no W-2 employees or other payroll. Can I use the money to fund my SEP or IRA? No, you cannot. It cannot be used for any investment purposes. So use that money only for the fixed debts, payroll, accounts payable, or bills that have been paid, bills that would have been able to be paid if the disaster not occurred. Of course. He's on the line. He's going to call me right back. He just sent me a text message. All right, we'll get you that answer, Nicole. Don't worry. Just wait 1 second. All right, Samuel was asking, after I got the EIDL loan, can I go to the bank and apply for a loan or a line of credit for my business. Nothing's stopping you from doing that, but keep in mind, they're going to know that you have an EIDL loan already out against yourself and your business. And I don't believe you're going to have luck finding any bank to go in second position after the EIDL loan. Plus, the EIDL loan has to know if you're putting any more liens against the business. Because remember, if you go belly up, they have to make sure that they can recover their money. And if you're adding more debt to your business, then more than likely they're not going to approve that, and you're not going to have any luck even if you find a business to give you the loan. Okay, so most likely you cannot do that. Ram is saying the collateral for the loan just business, or can they come after my home? From everything I'm understanding, they cannot come after your home because your home is considered a real asset. It's not considered personal property. It's real property. I apologize, it's real property. So that is probably safe. The SBA has even confirmed that themselves. But if you want to double check, send an email to the SBA and ask them. I'll leave that email information up here so you guys can see it. Oh, actually, I don't have the share screen. So the email is answerdesk@sba.gov. So if you want to ask them that question, please go right ahead. Asia Khan is asking, collateral means business assets, accounts receivable, or lien on your home, or soft lien on your corporation. So I think that's a question. So collateral means, what the collateral that they're defining is any tangible or intangible asset that you may have. So that includes a property that your business owns, not your personal home, but a property your business owns, machinery your business owns, any collectibles that you have out there. So any money that's coming in, any intellectual property, anything that has any value whatsoever, your computers, anything that is for the business can be taken as collateral. All right, so Bill is saying, if I have an independent contractor that I send a 1099 miscellaneous every year, can I use the funds to pay them? Also, if I'm currently bringing in similar levels of revenue, do I need to use that first? Okay, so let me tackle your first part of your question first. Can I use it to pay independent contractors? Bill, unfortunately, it doesn't specify anything about independent contractors. It only says payroll. Very specifically, it states payroll, and I want to be sure that you guys understand that, because I have a ton of independent contractors that I pay all the time, and I am not allowed to pay those people. For instance, I have roofers, plumbers, all these people. I can't use the money to pay those people according to what the SBA says. But if your business has other expenses such as fixed debt, credit cards, anything else like that, use the money for that first. If you feel that your business will be affected if you don't use the money to continue paying these private contractors, then what I would suggest is that you send an email to the SBA and get their response on that. But I'm pretty sure they're going to tell you that they have to be W-2 employees in order for you to be able to pay them. But hey, I could be wrong. I'll actually ask them that question next time I do get them on the phone. Okay, Bobby, my business is wait, let me tackle your second part of your question. Also, if I'm currently bringing in similar levels of revenue, do I need to use that first? So, Bill, if you're bringing in money and you got the EIDL loan, there is no restriction on which money you can use first. The only thing you should do, Bill, is be very careful and keep that EIDL loan money in a different bank account, so that way you don't commingle both your money and their loan money, okay? It'll keep it a lot cleaner and keep good records as well. Bobby is asking, my business is a film production business. Can I use loan to shoot a film? If this is working capital, and what I'll tell you right now is that most likely the answer that you're going to get from the SBA is going to be a mixed one, most likely. But they'll probably tell you no I'll tell you why they'll say no, and I'll tell you why they might say yes. They'll probably say no because if you're going to shoot a film, that film wasn't in existence before the crisis, so that film is an expansion of your business. That's what they might say. But they also might tell you that making films is part of your day-to-day business. That's part of what you do. What you could possibly end up doing is funding the film with your credit cards, paying for it with maybe a short-term loan from someone, and using the EIDL loan money to pay it back that way. You could run that scenario past the SBA and then past your account and see if that is a viable solution for you to do. Because if they tell you yes, then you're golden. You should be good to go. I wish I could just give you a concrete answer, Bobby, but unfortunately I can't. That's something that's very specific to you. We'll see if we can get that answered for you. So I got my buddy on the line. Hey, Landy.
Hey, buddy.
How are you, brother?
Good, man. How are you?
Good, good. So listen, I have a lady who wants to know if she accepts the unemployment insurance, the pandemic unemployment assistance. And she's an independent contractor right now. She works for herself. But if she accepts that, would that affect her being able to get a loan?
No.
No, it wouldn't?
No, it would not. It would not. Her accepting that doesn't preclude her from getting a loan. What they're going to look for is activity in her bank account. So
Okay.
we were verifying a W-2 employee would be verified as like, hey, show me your last pay stub, right? So for self-employed individuals, they're looking at most recent transaction histories for the bank, for the business account in the last 30 days to see business activity as, you know, as the pay stub, if you would, of that person still being active and being employed. So her taking that wouldn't prohibit her from applying for a loan, as long as when she applies, before she closes, they're going to want to see that there's business activity.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Make sense?
Absolutely, brother. All right, thank you.
All right, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Bye-bye. Okay, Nicole, hopefully that answered your question. So you can apply for a home loan and have the PUA at the same time. So go for it. All right, Victoria, a friend is saying, can I use the EIDL loan for advertising costs to try and recoup lost business and due to COVID? That's actually a really great question. You should be able to use it on advertising if you were advertising before, and it allows you to get back to the point where your business was before. Now, if you were not advertising before, then you should most likely use this on everything that is concrete, black and white, that you can use it on, such as your rent, your payroll, other things such as that. Try to use this for the very last thing. This does deem an email to the SBA, so go ahead and email them that question. But I will tell you, this is another one of those questions that can go either way, and if you call a few times, you might get different answers. And again, I want to say this for anyone who wasn't watching before. There's an unprecedented amount of people who have applied for the EIDL loan. I highly doubt that we're going to all get audited. What I do feel is going to happen is there's going to be some people who are going to be audited, so just make sure you cover your tracks. Make sure that you're not intentionally defrauding the SBA by doing something that you know is wrong. If you are asking the question and you're curious about if you're doing the right thing or not, your intentions are most likely in the right place. So I think you'll be safe to try to email the SBA and get your answers from them. Okay, let's see who else. I'm currently trying to purchase. I'm a 1099, an agent, 1099. So Nicole, you should be good. SBA has to do something about that. Marketing is essential. I agree with you. Listen, if we can use it for marketing, that would be a big help for everyone. It brings in business so we can pay the loan. 100,000%. I couldn't agree with you more. All right. So Antonio, let's see who else we got here. Antonio saying, if I use the loan for the EIDL loan for personal expenses and pay it back, the loan in 3 months, what are the risks? The risks are that if they find out that you used it for personal reasons, you could end up having to pay the loan back 1.5 times of the amount that you normally that you were given. So if you're given a $100,000 loan, you may have to pay back $150,000. All right. So try not to use it for any personal reasons. Try to use it all for business-related expenses. Okay. And if you don't have any, you're probably better off sending it back. Pozetta is saying, are you supposed to send financial statements to the SBA yearly, even if they are not prompted by them? You're supposed to send them financials whenever they request it. If they don't request it from you, then just sit tight. You should be okay. Okay. Zaria Morales is asking, we thought my husband's job was going to be affected early on, but it hasn't. He works as a warehouse manager and gets a 1099 every year. SBA sent an email with an approval of $4,000. What can it be used for? So if you got a $4,000 approval, and I'm almost certain that you're not referring to a grant, because it doesn't sound like your husband has 4 employees. If you've got $4,000 as a loan, you can use that money on any, well, in his case, he doesn't have any rent because he was working as a manager. You might be able to use it on any credit cards that you might have racked up expenses on due to him being unemployed. So you might be able to use it on that. So hopefully that helps you out. Zara, listen, that decision is up to you, you and your accountant to make if you should accept that money or not. No problem, Bobby. Nicole, yes, I'm excited for you too. If you need a good loan officer, I left you his information right down in the description. Right there, you can see it. Okay, Dice Auto says, I was looking to move to another location before COVID. I have emails to prove it. My lease will be up in 60 days. Can I use the EIDL loan money to pay for the deposit and new monthly rent? Okay, so Dice Auto, you should definitely email the SBA and get a response from them, but I'll tell you how you can structure your argument. Exactly what you said, that this was intended to go on before. Now, they have a restriction in their loan agreement that says you cannot move because then you out of the geographical area where you are, because then that would constitute you having to pay back the loan immediately. But since our geographical area that was affected is the entire world, it's basically the entire United States, according to the SBA, you should be able to move your business anywhere you want. You should be able to use that money to use it as a down payment, and you can definitely use it for rent. So just get the blessing from them, because you're not expanding, you're just transferring, you're not growing, you're just moving from like to like. Make sure it's like to like. If it's more rent and it's more everything than you had before, then you may be capped to the amount of money you can use for that down payment and that rent, okay? Okay, so El Hadij is asking business credit cards after the EIDL loan. So can you apply for a business credit card after EIDL loan? Yeah, you can apply for a business credit card after EIDL loan. You should be fine with that, but you can only pay for expenses after January 31st, 2020. Azar is asking, I have invoices from July to 2019. Can I pay them with my EIDL loan now? Unfortunately, you cannot. You can only pay for expenses that came after January 31st. So unfortunately, that is not. And the same thing goes for credit cards, guys. If you have credit cards and you have expenses on them that came before January 31st, 2020, you can only pay for the expenses that they came after, unfortunately. So Lucia D is asking, would I be able to use the EIDL loan to change the entity from sole proprietor to LLC? Is that considered an enhancement? It's not considered an enhancement if you're doing it because your accountant is telling you that that's the best structure for your business. If you're going to go to an LLC, the amount you're going to pay for that is probably somewhere about $100, $125 to make that transition. I highly doubt that an expense that small is going to trigger something. So you should be okay with that. Okay, Asia Khan is saying, if you use the loan to pay off, can you access the loan again or not? Great question. If you, most likely not in the short term, Asia, because I will tell you right now that the SBA is tapped out for money. They don't have any more. They don't have any more capital to distribute to anyone else. If you're trying to apply with them today, you're not going to get anything. So they're only allowing farms and agriculture to apply now. So if you give this money back, more than likely it's going to go to someone in agriculture, or you may not be able to access this money for a long time. Okay. Antonio was saying, how can I send it back? Transfer it to bank or send a check? So yes, in one of my previous videos, I actually talked about how you can send it back. They have a phone. An email, they have phone, an online system, and there's also another way in which you can pay it. So you can actually just call them up and pay over the phone if you'd like. Let me see if I can find that for you here. Let me see, payment, contact SBA headquarters. I'll find it for you guys, and I'll put it on the chat in just a second. Let me just get to a couple more questions. So if you visit the SBA's website, you're going to be able to make payments right on their site. So you should be fine there. All right, Steve Weinstein is asking, can you use the loan to hire new employees? Steve, no, you can't. You can't hire new employees. Let me rephrase that. You can't hire additional employees. But if you had two employees and one of them doesn't want to come back because they're collecting more in unemployment than you paid them, then you can replace that employee with another employee, but it has to be like for like, okay? Perfect Body Beauty is saying, thanks for answering the hazard insurance question for me. Got my portal Sunday, but no loan docs yet. It's still being processed. So unfortunately, yeah, it takes a little bit of time, but if you're that far in the process, Perfect Body, you'll be fine. Jared is asking, if I am a sole proprietor, can I pay myself an average of what I made pre-tax last year, even if I am making money this year? Also, can I back pay myself from January 31st to now? So I asked this question about being able to back pay yourself with the EIDL loan yesterday to the SBA, and they said that yes, you can back pay yourself from January 31st till now if you were a W-2 employee for the company, okay? But you were, it appears to me that you're a sole proprietor and you weren't giving yourself a salary. So what I'm going to tell you right now is that this question needs to be addressed to the SBA by email, answerdesk@sba.gov. Get their blessing on it, and if they tell you yes, go for it. More power to you. Check with your accountant too if you want to get a double blessing. Okay, so next, M. Sway is saying, I'm sorry I'm a little late. I got approved for the loan. Will I get the grant also, or that's it? Okay, so that's a really good question. So some people actually got the grant first, and then they got the loan later. So for instance, myself, I got the grant ahead of time, then I got the loan much later. But I have people that I know who actually got the loan and the grant all in one deposit. So when the deposit came into their bank account, the loan and the grant were both in there. So you'll probably still get both, Jared. So thank you, Miss M. Sway. So you should be okay. Now remember, you're only going to get a grant in the amount of employees that you claim to have. So if you had only yourself, you'll get $1,000. If you had a few employees, then you'll get a few $1,000s. Nicole is asking, do you have a video on the benefits of doing a corp or an LLC? I do not. That's a great question, and that's a good topic for me to create. I do have videos on how to create LLCs, how to create your EIN number, and how to create an operating agreement. So if you haven't checked those out, those are in our archive. All right, so Yaga144 is asking, hold the loan for a year, make a couple of payments on it, paid off in full. What will improve your business credit lines? It'll improve your business credit lines if it's being reported to the business bureaus, but from what I'm being told, it's actually showing up on people's personal credit reports too. So it might be on your Experian for sure, because that's the one that they use to check your credit. So I've heard from other sources. I haven't checked my credit yet. I don't know if it's on mine, but I have heard from other people that it is showing up on their credit. If anyone here knows the answer to that, if anyone knows if it's showing up on their credit, please leave it in the description. In the comment section. Also, while we were talking about comments, there is a function here on YouTube Live that if you would like to either do what's called a super chat or a super sticker, you'll have to, your comment will show up, your sticker will show up. But what we're going to be doing with these funds is that anyone who donates over $25 into a super sticker or a super chat, we're actually going to send you a Culture Estate hat. So if you guys donate that money, we're going to use it all to feed hungry families here in the United States. We're trying to raise money right now as much as possible. Not too long ago, we raised a couple $100 and we brought that over to a church that was accepting food. So right now, even though we're all in a tough spot, guys, there's people who don't even have food. Hopefully no one watching this is in that position. But if you can, guys, if you feel it in your heart to donate, please do. We'll send you any donation over $25. We'll send you a Culture Estate hat. All right, next question. Clyde Bevy, can you sell the EIDL loan with your business if you are selling the EIN number also? So the minute you transfer your business, you have to pay off the EIDL loan. It's an automatic trigger. So it's recorded. Remember, they didn't give you this loan on a handshake. This loan is recorded. So whenever you go to sell your business, whoever's going to be buying it is going to be running searches on it, and it's going to pop up the UCC filing showing that you have this loan. So that loan is going to have to be paid off with the proceeds. Now, someone asked me the other day, I'm not going to be selling it, but I'm going to be transferring it to my son because I'm planning on retiring. In that event that you're going to be transferring it to your son at no cost, what you're probably going to have to do is talk to the SBA and let them know, and your son's most likely going to have to sign off on that loan so that loan can be transferred over to that person or to your son if he qualifies. So that might be the only exception to it. But if you're selling it, it's going to have to get paid off. Is the return window on your mic still open? Window on your mic still open? I'm not sure what that meant, Pizzetta. I apologize. If you can elaborate a little bit more on your question there. So sold, I can't pronounce your whole name, but Mr. or Mrs. Guerra, I already confirmed for the loan with my personal bank account. Can I make a business account and transfer it over? What's your suggestion? Thanks for your time and info. Okay. Yes, you should definitely make a business account. Do not commingle this money with your personal funds. So the first thing you should do is, as soon as you see that money in there, transfer it over right away. So good question. Clyde Bevy. Hopefully I answered your question, Clyde. Okay, so TW Kid M3 says, it says you need to refinance your EIDL loan to PPP. Yeah, so let me show you that, guys. Let me show you that. So right here in this publication, it says refinancing an SBA EIDL loan made between January 31st, 2020 and April 3rd, 2020. If you receive an SBA EIDL loan from January 31st, 2020 through April 3rd, 2020, you can apply for the PPP loan. If your EIDL loan was not used for payroll costs, it does not affect your eligibility for PPP loan. If your EIDL loan was used for payroll costs, your PPP loan must be used to refinance your EIDL loan. Proceeds from any advance up to $10,000 on an EIDL loan will not be deducted from the loan forgiveness amount on the PPP. So right there, it states that you do need to refinance that. So if you do get both and you used it for payroll, you're going to have to refinance. Victoria Friend, if I put the funds into a separate account and use it for the next amount of years for lease, utilities, and payroll, etc. Yes, 100%, Victoria. It doesn't state anywhere that you have to use that money within a certain window. So if you keep it in a separate account and you just have your rent automatically drafted out of that account every month, you're good to go. There's nothing safer than that. So that's a good idea. Would I start making EIDL loan payments in a year from the new separate account? Seems weird to pay a loan payment with a loan funds. Well, like I said, money's fungible. So to them, it doesn't matter if it came from your EIDL loan bank account, or if it came from your personal bank account, or if it came from a loan from your grandmother. It doesn't matter. As long as you get the money, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, it is a little weird to pay a loan with a loan, but if you don't need the loan, if you asked for $150,000 and you feel like you only really need 50, send the other 100 back. And then just pay for it with your own money that your business is making. So hopefully that helps you. That answered your question with that. All right, so we're probably going to go for another 7 minutes on this. I'm fresh out of questions, so I'm going to jump into some of the questions that I was receiving on my most recent video. So let me see if I can pull that up real quick. Okay, so we have a couple more questions. Let me jump on those. All right, so Andres is saying, I want to invest the EIDL loan in cash producing activities, so it makes sense to pay down past credit cards and put it into marketing and advertising. Well, unfortunately, Andres, you cannot invest the EIDL loan money. It can only be used for those few things that I mentioned to you earlier. So unfortunately, brother, that's not gonna work. That's not gonna fly. You're thinking like a businessman, but unfortunately, they are not giving it to you for you to grow the money or invest it. Okay, so El Hadij is asking, I have a home office. Can I use the EIDL loan for the mortgage payment? I answered a similar question to this before, and you can only do that. You can only use it for that purpose if you have a lease. If you have a lease under your home. So for instance, talk to your accountant and talk to them, how can I get a lease where I'm the landlord, I own the home, and I use 500 square feet of it for my office? Can I pay a proportionate amount of rent to myself? You should be able to do that. If you weren't doing that before, it might be difficult to do it now, but if you get the blessing from the SBA, then you should be okay to go. Chris Ayalo is saying, can I pay an existing business line of credit? Yes, you can use it to pay for an existing line of credit for your business, but you can only use it to pay the monthly payments. You can't pay it off unless it was a short-term loan. If it was a short-term loan under 12 months, then you should be able to pay it entirely off. Now remember, only expenses that are allowed to be paid for that are expenses that were accrued after the pandemic. So make sure it was after January 31st, 2020 that you have expenses on there that are being paid off. All right, so I'm out of questions, so I'm going to jump into some of the questions I'm getting on these videos from other places. Let me see if I can find a decently short one. What happens when we hopefully retire and close our business before the 30-year payment plan is up? Well, if you close your business before the 30-year payment is up, then you're going to have to pay that money off when your business is out of commission. Now, they're not going to know, and they're not going to find out if your business is closed, because they're probably not going to be checking up all the time. That may not happen. But what you need to do is make sure that if you're going to be shutting down operations, that you cancel out all the debts, because if they come back and ask you for financials and you have none, you could be found to be owing them 1.5 times of the loan amount. So that's Pauline. Kath asked that question. So Pauline, hopefully you're watching, you caught that as well. Alexander Repair is saying, I'm a landscaper. Can I purchase equipment? So Alexander, you can not purchase equipment, because that constitutes an expansion of your business. If your equipment broke and you need to replace it for the same type of equipment, then you should be able to do that. The money is only good to be used for bringing your business back to the way it was. Okay? So hopefully that answers your question, brother. Okay, Ace Hurdle is saying, I am a dentist independent contractor. I was approved for the EIDL loan. How going to pay to myself? Okay, well, we've answered that a couple of times. I think we'll switch to another one. So Alexander, you also stated that I am self-employed with the EIDL loan. Can I pay myself the past months I missed from work? All right, so I guess the same question I got asked twice here. I'm going to explain to you, Alexander, that you cannot not use it to pay yourself distributions. You cannot use the EIDL loan money for that, okay? According to what they are telling me at the SBA, you cannot use it for distributions to yourself. You can only use it for wages to yourself if you were earning wages before as a W-2 employee. Now, if you cannot survive because of the lack of income that you're able to pay yourself, you're going to have to apply for the PPP loan. The PPP loan will actually let you give yourself a W-2, okay? So the EIDL loan is not meant for that, brother. So I apologize. I wish I could give you better news, but you're going to have to just, if you want a different answer, you're going to have to contact the SBA and see if they can give you some more information on that. And remember, guys, I'm not an accountant, not giving you guys advice. Always check with your accountant first, and hopefully they give you some good news. David Schwacker is saying, we have received further guidance regarding transportation for PPP loan forgiveness. Thanks. Okay, so I think your question of transportation, I'm not sure where you're coming up with transportation for loan forgiveness. I'm not sure what kind of, right now as it stands, the PPP is only forgiving any money that's being used for wages. 75% of it can be used for wages. So if you're paying salaries, that can be forgiven. I haven't heard of anything about transportation. So David, if you can give me a little bit more feedback on that and what your question is. Okay, Bear Saltillo, I just want to be clear, is there a timeline to use the EIDL loan monies unlike the PPP? I am just concerned in case the second wave of COVID hits and thus getting shut down again. No, there isn't. You can use that money throughout the entire 30 years. It doesn't. There is no timeline in which you have to use that money. So hopefully that answers you. Finally, thank you for doing this live stream. Appreciate you doing this. No problem, Alexander. Thank you for watching, brother. Sorry I wasn't able to start at 12 o'clock. on the dot. I apologize. I ended up having to do a separate live stream because the live stream my program for some reason wasn't kicking in. So my apologies for that, guys. Okay, so Passport Poppy is saying, I travel for my, I like that name, Passport Poppy. I travel for my business. Could I pay for my hotel rooms and lodging with the EIDL loan? Great question. So if this could be constituted as a normal business expense, if you're on business for expansion purposes, more than likely that's not going to be covered. What I would do if I were you, brother, is I would pay for this with the credit card, and then it would be a very difficult thing to figure out what you're paying for. But it seems like it's part of your business expense. Talk to the SBA about it being a part of a normal expense that you would have incurred. Again, I'll read it to you what they say. Some bills that could have not been paid had the disaster not occurred. So if you're able to pay for those expenses on your own, pay for those expenses on your own. If they're necessary and you can't, and you rack up these bills on your credit card or however else you might rack them up, then they should be able to be covered. Just get the blessing from the SBA. Antonio was asking, I'm not received PPP and PUA either. Can I use the EIDL loan money to pay myself as self-employed since March? They are telling me that you cannot pay yourself as self-employed. You can only pay wages, payroll, and you can be one of the people to get paid if you were getting paid prior to that. Call the SBA, email the SBA, and get their take on it. From what I understand, you cannot use it for that. There could be loopholes that they might be able to help you with. So, make sure you speak to a level 2 or a loan officer. All right, so Phoenix AZ says, can you get EIDL loan and receiving PUA at the same time? You're a little late to the stream, but yes, you can. As long as you don't use the EIDL loan to pay yourself, you can also get the PUA, okay? That was also highlighted in yesterday's video. Well, actually this morning's video, we dropped it today. Patty Green says, if you can expense a small equipment purchase account, says under, if you can expense a small equipment purchase, okay, account says under 2,000, then can I purchase that equipment, specifically a chair we need, so it would not go on the books as a fixed asset? Well, that wouldn't constitute a fixed asset either way, Patty, so you should be able to purchase that if it's something that your business desperately needs and is being, it's not expanding your business. If this equipment is expanding your business, then no, you can't. If this chair or whatever equipment that you're getting is something that is actually taking the place of something that is no longer functional, then it's not an expansion, you should be okay. Chris Ayalo, do you think we will change the use terms like they did for the PPP? I do, because maybe if not change them, provide more clarity, because there is no clarity. There is literally tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of entrepreneurs out there who have this money, and they're given 4 data points: fixed debts, payroll, accounts payable, and some bills that could have been paid if the disaster didn't occur. That really doesn't constitute much explanation. So I do think we're going to see more clarity on that. All right, El Hadid is asking, should you put the money in a separate bank account? 100%. Definitely, Chan, put that in a separate bank account. Thank you, Antonio, for the kind words. So Clyde Bevy, restrictions on collateral transfers. Borrower will not sell, lease, license, or otherwise transfer any part of the collateral without secured parties' written approval. Correct. So if you sell any machinery, if you sell your business property, if you sell cameras, if you sell anything from this moment on that's constitute collateral, remember, over $25,000 loan, you have to have collateral. So let me give you an example. Let's say that you have a construction business and you're going to sell one of your bulldozers. You're going to have to get express written consent from the SBA that you can sell one of those bulldozers. Okay, so make sure you understand that. If they find out that you have, I'm not sure how they will find out, because they didn't ask you for an itemized list of inventory of what collateral you have. So read between the lines. You guys will figure it out. I think you should always call the SBA and get an answer from them. Clyde Bevy says, I think you can transfer the loan if you have written. Yeah, of course. If they give you permission to transfer the loan, Clive, you can definitely transfer it. Andres is saying, I am working with a consultant before COVID happened. I had to let him go in March. Can I use EIDL loan to hire him back? The consultant is a private contractor, so probably not. You might not be able to hire him back. If the SBA says something different, please come back to one of our videos and let us know if they've given you some different advice on that. Most likely it's only for payroll, specifically what they say is payroll. You can make the argument to the SBA and this when you email them that the consultant was part of your business and is necessary to continue the progression of your business. And if you don't have the money to pay for that consultant, can you use it from the EIDL loan? So see what happens with that, brother. Do I have to pay myself from the EIDL loan, or can keep getting unemployment? Yes, you can keep getting unemployment. That question was asked by Azar. You can continue to get unemployment and you can use it for other expenses. You don't have to use it on payroll for yourself. A lot of entrepreneurs out there don't actually pay themselves anyway. They only give themselves distributions. And if there aren't any distributions to make right now, you could definitely continue getting the PUA. Alexander is asking, so if one of my lawnmowers is damaged, could I use the EIDL loan the EIDL loan to replace it? If it can't get repaired and it's beyond repair, then you should be able to use it to replace, because it is bringing you back to the way that your business was before. All right, get the blessing from the SBA on that. Make sure you email them and ask them. Denise, how are you, Denise? You've been very active on our threads. You need me to speak louder, sweetheart? I'm sorry. Let me see. Turn up this mic a bit. Let me know, guys, if this is any better. I just don't want to turn it up too much. Let's see how I sound. Hello, hello, testing. I think I sound okay. All right, guys, let me know if I'm too loud. Let me know how it sounds. All right. I buy and sell construction equipment, so can I use the loan to continue buying and selling? That's a really difficult one. That's one that I battled with myself, because I'm in a business of buying and selling homes, but they're telling me that I cannot use it to buy fixed assets. Your equipment is considered a fixed asset. Unfortunately, it's considered a fixed asset because it's construction equipment, but it's your merchandise. It's the line that you have. So I'm going to actually create a follow-up video on that question alone, because I really want to get to the bottom of this, because I have a lot of money sitting in the accounts that I'm thinking of giving back, because I can't use it for the purpose that I thought I was going to be able to use it for, which is to buy more of the assets that I currently work in. So I'll get back to you on that one, brother. Thank you. Let me see, what was your name? Oh yeah, yeah, so El Hadij, yeah, I will get back to you on that answer, and we'll do a follow-up video on that question. Thank you for that. Pazetta is saying, if I'm paying 1099 contractors as a regular part of my operations, you absolutely can continue to pay them with the loan proceeds. So Pazetta, if you have documentation, email, or anywhere where you have that, please share it with us, because I'd love to share that with our community. We're not 100% clear on that. We're going to call the SBA on that one too and see if they have any different answers for us. Thank you, Al Hadij. I appreciate it. Thank you, Anan. Denise. All right, thank you, Denise. Yeah, a couple of my videos back, we had some audio issues, and I'm hoping that everything is better now. I had to switch over to my Zoom recorder, which has pretty good audio. As you can see here, I had to switch over to this until I got my new lavalier mic that just came in yesterday. But this is kicking out some pretty good audio, so we'll stay with this for a minute. So if you use the PPP loan for the 8 weeks covered period for payroll, can you use the EIDL loan payroll after the 8 weeks? So yeah, you could, as long as you don't use them for the same thing. So you cannot double dip for the same expense. So Mitchell, thank you for that question. You should be good. You should be good to go. So we've gone on pretty long. I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to answer 3 more questions. So within the next, maybe at 1:45, I'll wrap this up. So I'll answer 3 more. If you guys are watching this and you're being shy about answering the question, please ask it now. Also, I'm going to ask you guys again, if you would like to contribute $25, at least $25, by clicking on the super chat in your within the little chat box. When you go and type something in, there's a little happy face and there's a little money sign. Either one of those will allow you to donate to this channel. Any money that's donated today over $25, we'll send you a Culture Estate hat, and we'll donate all that money to feeding hungry families here in the United States. So if you guys would like to do that. Okay. Charlie Sullivan is saying, so what is the EIDI? I can't even pronounce it anymore. I say it so much. What is the EIDL loan intent if I borrow less than $25,000 for my company has no assets? Okay, this is what you can use it for. Charlie, these items I have here on the screen. Fixed debts such as rent or mortgage payments, payroll, accounts payable, and some bills that could have been paid if the disaster not occurred. Hopefully that answers your question. Thank you, Alexander. Charlie, no worries, brother. Sorry came on this very late. I just found your video a few days ago. Great info. No worries, Charlie. Thank you for being here. And Mitchell, thank you. Also, I was told after you accept the loan, you will receive your grant. Yes, that's true. That's very, very true. All right. We're doing good. All right, so I think we're going to wrap this up, guys. I just want to take this time to thank everyone who has been signing up, subscribing to our channel. I want to apologize for the late start this morning. I know some of you had this already scheduled to watch at a certain time. We had a little technical difficulties, but your support to this channel has meant a lot to me, guys. I'm spending a lot more time being active here in this community, and never did I think I'd be answering questions on SBA loans. I was never a big fan of the SBA to begin with, but it seems like that is where God has me right now, and helping you guys out and being able to answer some of these questions. Again, just as a disclaimer, guys, I just want to let you know I'm not a CPA. I'm not an accountant. I'm not an attorney. Make sure you check with one of those resources first before making any moves. I want to see everyone be able to make the right steps and spend this money the correct way without getting in trouble. That's why we're doing these live streams. As I find out more information, I will be posting more updates and I'll be giving you guys new information. I'm not going to be doing a video just to create a video. I'm just going to give you guys new information that's going to be coming out, because I do want to also switch up the content. I don't want to just inundate my channel with EIDL loan videos. If you guys have topics that you want to learn about, such as the young lady asked before, videos about going in as a corp versus an LLC, pros and cons of both, I can do a video like that. I'm working on doing a few more videos about the oncoming market crashes, if we're going to have inflation, deflation, stagflation, and everything in between. So I'll be making videos like that. But if you have any videos that you'd like to see more information, I'll leave it down below in the comment section, and we'll get to them as soon as possible if they're popular enough. Also, when I'm not making YouTube videos, guys, we run a real estate organization. We have a team pretty much across the entire country. If anyone's interested in getting into real estate or joining a team that has got this business pretty much down packed, I've been doing this for almost 20 years, guys. So if you want to join our team, please let us know. You can reach out to me either by clicking one of the links down below in the description. If it's not there now, obviously, because I created a new stream, you'll see it if you come back to this video probably within the next hour or so. Again, guys, thank you. Give this video a like if you can. It would mean a lot to me. It would mean a lot to the channel. It'll get in front of a lot more people. And send this to anyone who you think would benefit from it. I see a lot of questions pouring in right now. Unfortunately, guys, I'm just going to answer the ones that are on now. So if you could, please just hold your questions. If I don't get to them today, I will definitely get to them on a later date. Patty Green, thank you, Patty Green, for donating $25. Patty, you are awesome. Thank you so much, Patty. We're going to send you off a Culture Estate hat. Patty, if you could, please send us your email address, and we will get in contact with you to get your mailing information so we can get you that, okay? All right, let me just answer a few more questions and here we'll sign off. I guess I'm going to have to go to 2 o'clock. Noreen says her EIDL loan had an amount and said confirmed. Does not mean I'm approved. Well, listen, if you got that far, you should be okay, Noreen. I'm just going to answer these as quickly as possible. Unseen Hero says, I've decided not to take the loan. I'm sick and tired of losing sleep over this. Oh my God, I couldn't agree with you more. Pizzetta says, some bills like a 1099 contractor invoice. Hey, listen, it's a bill. It's a legitimate bill. So if you can justify that the bill was a 1099 contractor's invoice, it's a bill. And if you can't pay for it, brother, more power to you. Michelle is saying, so as soon as I accepted it, the money was deposited. Okay, that's great. I may need that recording of the PUA for the PUA. I may need the recording for the PUA. What recording are you referring to, Perfect Body? Just let me know about that. Mark Smith says, thank you. Nona No, it took 5 days. Tax preparer can use it for continuing education as software programmer for 2019 and 2020. Okay, so your tax preparer told you that you can use the EIDL loan money for continuing education and software programs for 2019 and 2020. Listen, get a blessing from the SBA on that, because to me, continuing education is okay, should be fine, because it's continuing for your proposed business. But if you take new classes, it might not be able to. Software programs for 2019, 2020. Hey, listen, if they're telling you that's good, I'm glad to hear that. Maybe we'll make a resource one day where we'll list everything that is approved. All right. I can use this loan in 12 months and give it back? Yes, you can. You can give it back at any time. Once accepted the loan, it took 5 days for them to deposit the money. Okay. Can you make the PPP forgiveness video? Sure, absolutely. We'll do a PPP forgiveness video. We have something similar to that. It's called Should I Give My PPP Loan Back? So check that out on our site. All right, cool, cool. God bless everyone. Thank you, everyone. Can you pay back taxes with the money? No, you can't. I asked that question yesterday. It's on our part 3 of our series that we did. Our frequently asked questions for EIDL loan. They said you cannot pay your back taxes with it. If you misuse the EIDL loan, yes, it's determined. Now you owe 150% of the original loan amount. Does that become due in full immediately or recalculated over the original term? Great question. If you ask me, it's most likely going to be due immediately. They'll probably call the loan due, and you will have to pay it back all in one shot. So that's it, guys, for today. Thank you so much for being on this with me. I appreciate it. If we get enough requests, we'll do some more follow-up live videos. I'll make sure to get my live game on point next time. I appreciate everyone's support here on the channel, and thanks, guys. Appreciate it. God bless and stay safe. Thank you, everyone.